Her Magical Christmas is a pretty decent Christmas film. We have some really likable protagonists. One of them did overreact at one point, which is something that really irritates me. If I discuss that in more detail, I will give a spoiler warning. But if I don't mention it again, it was something that was very brief and it was over before it barely began. So it's not too much of a big deal. This was released in 2017. It's also known as Magical Christmas Ornaments, which I'll talk about in a moment. I don't prefer either title. I'm not too bothered which is the dominating title there. It's directed by Don McBrearty, written by Rickie Castaneda, and stars Jessica Lowndes as Marie and Brendan Penny as Nate. And they're actually neighbours. And they meet and they start to develop this friendship that obviously becomes this potential will they, won't they classic Christmas rom-com relationship. And I really enjoyed it. I thought Nate in particular was a really likable character. He's the one with a lot of Christmas spirit. Marie doesn't have that much Christmas spirit because she's been hurt in the past around Christmas and she doesn't even have a tree, but her parents keep sending her these ornaments. I have to say, her parents must have spent a lot of money sending those ornaments and did a lot of carbon footprint damage. It would have made so much more sense if they'd just sent them all at once, packaged them up and put little numbers on each of the parcels so she knew which ones to open. That's just me overthinking the narrative, but it did irritate me a little bit. But that aside, she reads the notes and it sparks maybe a little memory or some kind of brief Christmas joy that she feels, but she's not overly enthusiastic about these ornaments. But then coincidences start to happen relating to the ornaments, and she starts to think that these ornaments are actually telling her a story or directing her life in a certain way. And what I really like about this is that you don't have to believe in literal Christmas magic because the film actually addresses this concept that signs are not always what we think they are. For example, Marie thinks that this ornament means something specific, but then she learns that actually it could be connected to this or that. And I really like that message that sometimes we read into something what we want to see, but if we take the time to step back and look at the bigger picture, it might actually be pointing to something else. So even if you don't buy into the whole these Christmas ornaments are actually magical, I think there's still a nice message in there. And obviously, these ornaments do largely revolve around Nate and this new relationship, but also somebody from her past. I don't want to say too much about that, but I like the direction it took. I feel like everything made a lot of sense. Marie works in publishing, and for me as a writer, that's something that I really liked. It's not too heavily about that, so if you're not that bothered about films set in publishing houses or about authors, then there are plenty of other things to enjoy in the film. With regards to the Christmas aspect, it is quite festive. It's not the most Christmassy film, but at the same time, I'd say pretty much every scene has some kind of Christmas decoration or Christmas music or wintry activity like ice skating. Whenever I see ice skating in these films, I just want to get up and ice skate. So it definitely has some festive, wintry inspiration in it. And of course, the magic of Christmas is there with the ornaments as well. Apart from Marie overreacting at one point, I really enjoyed it and I think it's definitely worth watching. So I guess I'll discuss very briefly that moment with Marie that kind of irritated me, but as I said, it was very brief. It's not something that lasted very long, so I didn't have to get too annoyed by it. So, spoilers from now, this is the last thing I have to mention about the film. And Marie decides, kind of out of nowhere, to call off her relationship with Nate because of something her ex had done. She basically said, oh, well, my ex was a horrible person, so Nate, because he has a female friend, in fact, a female colleague, he's going to hurt me. And that's stupid. You can't say, oh, somebody's going to hurt me because they have a female colleague. That's pathetic. But she very quickly realised the error of her ways, so I appreciate that. So in all, it's actually a good film and absolutely worth watching, and actually, I'd be quite happy to watch it again.